Hi, gang. Bob Boving here with The Mystery Project and Clean Sweep, our Nova Scotia series about Bonnie and Ben Marsden, starring Deborah Allen and Richard Donat. Written by Elf Silver, Suddenly This Summer is episode 2 of Clean Sweep.
Kate? Kate!
What do you want?
I want to see Kate.
Well, she doesn't want to see you. Go back to your digs, Robbie, and sober up.
Get out of my way, Eric.
No.
Move, or I'll move you.
Don't.
What am I doing? I'm sorry, Eric. I...
Just go away. And stay away.
I'm sorry.
Is it lunchtime yet?
You have to pull that door tight or we'll be eating flies. Thank you. I'm just making it now. Peanut butter and apple.
I like banana better.
So does your father, but bananas weren't on sale.
Robbie.
Afraid not, Miss Melissa. You'll have to settle for your broken down old daddy. Up you come. Oh. Hey, you're going to have to work on your days of the week. This is Friday, and Robbie only comes home on Mondays. How could they put on their shows without Robbie to carry around the scenery?
I thought you weren't going to be home for lunch.
Neither did I. Down you go, Pumpkin. Thought I'd get a full day's work out of it, but it turned out only half them posts was rotted out.
Well, then if you can stay home with Melissa, I'll call Mrs. Parker and tell her I can do her house this afternoon. Speak of the devil. Hello?
Mrs. Marsden, it's Corporal Kowalchuk. I wonder if you could verify some information for a court report.
Court report?
Your son, Robert. He's a full-time student at community college?
Well, not right now. He starts his second year in September. What is it?
Very good. Mrs. Marsden, we have Robert in custody. He's been charged with break-and-enter, vandalism, mischief, and theft under $1,000.
What? My Robbie? You're crazy.
I'm afraid so, Mrs. Marsden. Late last night or early this morning, the house rented by Eric and Catherine Swinton, two of the actors at the Salt Shore Theater Festival, was broken into. Nothing of much value was taken, but a great deal of damage was done to the premises. The perpetrator or perpetrators lit a fire of newspapers and animal feces in the fireplace and closed the flue. Fortunately, the fire stayed confined to the fireplace, but it caused enough smoke for a neighbor to call in an alarm. By the time the fire department arrived, the perpetrator or perpetrators were gone.
What's that got to do with Robbie?
What's going on?
Shh. During the time the crime was committed, there was an opening night social event for the festival personnel. Robert Marsden did not attend, which is apparently unusual, and there are no witnesses to vouch for his whereabouts during those hours.
That's slim reason to arrest him.
Who? Robbie?
Shh, I'll tell you in a minute.
Geez, Bonnie, I would have thought you knew me better than that. The last thing I wanted to do was lay charges. But when you've got motive and opportunity...
What motive?
I think that's something you'd rather hear from Robbie. We can release him under his parents' recognizance, so if you or your husband can come down to the detachment...
I'll come and make my husband wait at home. Ben hasn't punched a police officer in 20 years, and I don't want him to get back in the habit. Damn.
You have to pull the choke to the first notch.
I know how to start my own car. Damn thing gets more cantankerous every year, like your mother. All right. What happened?
Nothing. I didn't feel like going to the party last night, so I went out walking on the beach. Got back to my room late, and then when I get to work this morning, the police are waiting for me.
Corporal Kowalchuk said he had a reason to suspect you.
Well, they don't. I mean, sure, I'm angry about it, but, well, not angry, but...
About what?
Nothing.
Sounds like something to me.
It's not that big a deal. You just get all upset about it.
Why would I get upset? I'm not some police officer, Robbie. I'm your mother.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, for God's sake. This isn't 1952, and I'm not June Cleaver. Lord knows your father and I got into enough scrapes when we were your age. So what is it you're not exactly angry about?
Kate. Catherine Swinton. The actress? Well, she's a lot younger than her husband, and last summer, Kate and I, we had an affair. Mom?
I saw him. Robbie, 18-year-old boys don't have affairs. They have romances or girlfriends.
Yeah, well, it felt like a romance to me.
How much younger than her husband is she?
She's 35.
35?
I told you you'd be upset.
I'm not upset. I just,
Well, she's 36 now. Well, looks a lot younger. You saw her in A Midsummer Night's Dream last year, playing Titania, Queen of the Fairies. She wore that purple
That
sort of...
one?
When she and Eric came back this year, I wasn't expecting... I'm not stupid. I had summer girlfriends before. Nobody expects to fall in love forever.
Then they won't.
But this is... last summer she was just so open. Skinny dipping at Trout Lake and dancing around a fire on the beach. She called me to go walking in the rain one day. It turned out she had nothing on under her raincoat. And this year it's like she doesn't even see me. The only thing she said to me all summer is, "Hello, Robert," at the start of the season when everybody was getting introduced. Well, that was the start of June, and now we're almost at August. Hello, Robert.
Maybe your husband found out.
He knew, all along.
He did?
Well, they're only married on paper. They look after each other and cook for each other and that. And, well, sometimes they... But Eric's mostly gay. Oh, now you're going to say, oh, all those guys in tights are queer.
No, I wasn't.
Anyway, a lot of people like the idea of two actors playing lovers or yelling at each other on stage are really husband and wife. A lot of audiences come back to the festival just to see who the Swintons are going to be this year. And Kate and Eric get to go out after the show and do whatever they want to do and still have somebody to come home to. So everybody's happy.
I'm sorry, Robbie, that you got hurt. But I still don't see why the police would think...
Yeah, well, a couple of weeks ago I did something stupid. I got tanked up and I was walking around and there I was at their house. I banged on the door and I yelled at Eric and I shoved him a little. Well, not much. But I guess when the fire department called the cops and the cops asked Eric if he'd had any trouble lately...
Is their house really a mess?
How would I know? Yeah, well, that's what the cops told me. Trashed.
Trashed. They couldn't have had much chance to clean it up yet. When I drop you off at home, I'll load my stuff in the car and go volunteer to clean it up. No charge. Maybe they'll drop the charges.
Stop the car.
What?
Pull over and stop the friggin' car.
Why?
You think I did it, don't you?
No, I just...
Just clean up the mess and maybe they'll drop the charges, right? Well, I didn't do it.
So, did you go after him?
He was gone into the woods before I could get the car door open.
Can't say I blame him.
What?
Mommy?
It's okay, honey. Stay outside and play with the rabbits for a while. We'll watch you through the window.
Okay.
What do you mean you can't blame him?
You let him down. Robbie might punch somebody in the face, but he'd never sneak around behind their backs and trash their house.
I never said he would.
You didn't say he wouldn't.
Look, I don't really believe Robbie did it, okay? But I find it just as hard to believe he spent last summer boffing some 35-year-old actress.
Why? He's a good-looking young fella. Almost as handsome as his old man.
This isn't funny, Ben. Boys shouldn't be running around with grown women.
He's legal age. Why not?
I am not turning into my mother.
No?
No. I don't expect Robbie or anyone else to keep themselves pure till their wedding night. I just pray to God they're careful. But with a woman that much older, to her it's just another fling.
He could have had his heart broke just as easy by a girl his own age. Probably easier.
It's not the same thing. With a woman who can just turn it off and on, he doesn't understand. Lord knows I don't understand. If you'd seen him in the car when he was talking about it, you know Robbie's got a temper.
Comes by it honest.
And this has got him so confused, he doesn't know what to turn it to. Remember 19? Even the smartest kids got more hormones than brains. That's why Anyhow, the important thing right now is to try to get the charges dropped so it won't be on his record.
I think it'd do him less harm to get a slap on the wrist for something he didn't do than to think his mother tried to make a deal because she wasn't sure he was innocent.
That's your opinion.
Yeah, that'd be my opinion.
Well, even if you're right, the damage has already been done. If I don't get down the road soon, they'll have cleaned up the house already, and I won't have anything to offer them. You going to take Melissa in the truck and go look for Robbie?
Nah, he'll show up when he's walked himself out. He's got nowhere else to go. If the cops call, I'll tell them he's gone to help you with the grocery shopping. That's what my old man used to tell him.
Yes, madam?
Mr. Swinton, I'm Bonnie Marsden, Robbie Marsden's mother. I make my living cleaning people's houses.
Do you now?
Yes, so I'm pretty good at it. I've got my stuff in the car. I thought the least I could do was clean up your place for you. No charge.
On the condition that we drop the charges.
You know that's what I'd like, but I'll do it anyway. No conditions.
That's a very handsome offer. Do come in.
I'll just turn off the band. I find Susan the perfect house-cleaning music, but tastes different.
There. My wife's at rehearsal, so I'm doing my ineffectual best.
Good Lord.
Yes, it's amazing what can be done to a kitchen floor with whole wheat flour and maple syrup. Finding a little difficult to breathe, are you?
Mm-hmm.
Very inventive of the young lad to think of excrement in the fireplace. I just poured myself a drink to get a little fresh air out on the deck. Feel free to join me from time to time. I think you'll find it best to go at it in short stints. You've lasted longer than I would have. Might I fetch you a drink to wash the taste out of your mouth?
Please. Thank you. Just a Coke or...
Would ginger ale suffice?
Just fine, thank you.
I do have a certain amount of sympathy for your Robbie. Not that it's any excuse for what he did, but one can understand the poor boy's confusion.
Last year he was her Romeo, and then suddenly this summer... Forgive me, I will keep tripping over literary references. Tennessee Williams, you see, wrote a play entitled Suddenly Last Summer.
Elizabeth Taylor, Katharine Hepburn, and Montgomery Clift. My first two kids were colicky. You end up seeing a lot of late movies.
Ah. Cheers.
Thanks.
It's I who should be thanking you for taking on the job from hell. But what I meant to say about Robbie is that the dear boy simply doesn't understand the simplest facts of life. Last summer, Kate was playing Titania. This season, she's playing Goodwife Proctor in The Crucible. So, Titania is a lascivious creature who romps in the woods at will. Goodwife Proctor is a starch-laced Puritan who wouldn't say how'd you do to a man other than her husband. It's a syndrome that affects all actors to a certain extent, but my wife is particularly vacuous. One of the reasons she's so effective on stage is that off stage she's an empty vessel.
Are you telling me that your wife jerked Robbie up and down like a yo-yo because of the part she was playing?
Well, don't look so aghast, Mrs. Marsden. Everyone's persona is affected by the work they do. For instance, I would guess that you hadn't always worked as a charwoman, correct?
True. I was loans officer at the credit union for 16 years.
Ah. And don't you find you think and act a little differently now than you did then?
I'm still the same friggin' person.
No doubt. But would you have expressed that thought in exactly that manner when you were Mrs. Marsden from the credit union? Well, I have to get to rehearsal. You'll probably be done before I'm home. Please leave your number. I'll call after I've spoken to my wife. Given the work you're doing to pay for what your son did, I'm sure she'll agree to drop the charges.
So, did you make your deal?
I don't know, but
Whew. You've got to burn those clothes or just soak them in bleach for a week.
I know. I'll do something about it.
Oh.
But I found something. I was going to make damn sure that house was clean as a whistle. Even pulled out the sofa cushions to vacuum behind them. I came across a crunkled-up Polaroid and looked to see if it was just a blank I should throw out.
Gee.
Yeah. You don't see many 14 or 15-year-old boys wearing nothing but a leather vest and eyeshadow.
And a tattoo. Huh. He looks too stoned to have a clue what he's wearing or isn't.
The couch he's sitting on is the same one I found the picture in. If Eric Swinton is bringing street kids home and getting them so bombed they don't know what they're doing till the next day, there's more likely suspects than Robbie for trashing that house.
Who are you trying to prove it to? The cops or yourself?
I'm just trying to prove it, all right? I'm going to call Corporal Kowalchuk.
Take your clothes off before you go in the house.
Mrs. Marsden, I know you think the vandalism of the Swinton house was the only crime committed in Membertou County last night, but I've got 3 car thefts, an assault with a weapon, 2...
But if there's another suspect besides Robbie...
The photograph you described could have a number of explanations. They're in a theater company. It could be a costume fitting.
Not for any play they're putting on around here.
Or the youth in the photograph might be a friend of Mrs. Swinton.
I don't think so.
In which case, your son would still have a motive. I do take your allegations seriously, but I don't have the manpower to scour the county looking for an unidentified juvenile who might well be a transient.
Look, if I could tell you who the boy was, would you question him?
Yes. Yes, I certainly would.
Thank you.
Fair enough. Bye now.
No go?
Not yet. I'm going to take a run over to Gordon McLean's.
Gordy? Why?
Well, he's the only gay man I know of around here. At least the only one who doesn't give a damn who knows it. We got to be pretty good friends when his father was in the hospital bed next to Dad's.
And just what exactly, Bonnie, gave you the notion I might have the remotest clue in hell who this boy is?
Well, it's a small community, and
Yeah, because I'm homosexual, you figure I know every street-hustling teenage boy from here to Halifax? Well, I don't. So you can take your picture and...
Gordon, I'm clutching at straws. One of my sons is up on charges for something he didn't do. If you know of anybody who might be able to tell me who the boy in the picture is...
I don't understand the world of juvenile rough trade any better than you do. A few years back, a dear friend of mine got beaten to death by one of those little hustlers.
Here?
No, in Halifax. They caught the boy quick enough, dumb little twerp was still driving my friend's car. But since he was still under the Young Offenders Act...
What a sin.
Well, some people would say it wasn't the boy who had sinned. My friend used to justify his taste for underage chicken by saying he would never touch a boy who wasn't gay to begin with. Well, I'm in no position to judge, so I never replied that was like some jerk businessman who boinks 14-year-old girls saying I would never touch one who wasn't straight to begin with. Or maybe if I'd said something.
I'm sorry about your friend.
Well, but I do have an idea of who this boy might be, only not why you figured I would.
How?
When I was playing junior hockey, the McGuigan brothers from up on Bullards Road were a forward line. Mean bastards. Well, look at this kid's jug ears and hook nose. Might be the son of John McGuigan, or George, or Bert. But I'll bet you a loony he's a McGuigan.
Don't throw the stick longer than his line, Melissa. He'll strangle his fool self.
Here, boys.
Did Robbie come home?
Not yet. That Eric Swinton called for you. Left his number.
Good. Oh, Bert McGuigan says hello.
Oh?
I stopped by their gas station on the way home. While Bert was checking my oil, I asked him if he had a son or nephew with black hair and a tattoo on his arm.
Hello?
Mr. Swinton, it's Bonnie Marsden returning your call.
Oh, Mrs. Marsden, you're a miracle worker. I can't thank you enough for making the house livable again. If it were up to me, we'd drop the charges immediately. But unfortunately, my wife insists that we proceed.
I see. Well, while you're at it, you can charge me for theft. I stole this Polaroid I found behind your couch cushions. I'll turn myself in and hand over the evidence. So I think Corporal Kowalchuk will want to talk to a boy named Tommy McGuigan.
My wife isn't here at the moment. Would you please wait until I've had a chance?
You've got 1 hour.
What's there to wait for? Just take the picture into Kowalchuk and have done with it.
I know, but now that I've gone and said I'll wait for an hour, I have to wait.
It's Monday.
No, it isn't, Pumpkin. It's still... Oh, hello, Robbie. You had anything to eat since breakfast?
I didn't have breakfast.
Oh, I'll fix you a sandwich. Peanut butter and apple, okay?
Thanks, Dad.
Melissa, go outside for just a few more minutes, honey.
Aw, but...
Just a few minutes. We have to talk to Robbie.
Well, talk fast, okay?
Robbie, I know you didn't do it.
You checked my fingerprints or something?
I had to find out who did do it, so the police would let you alone. And I did, or at least found out somebody who runs with the same crowd that did it.
And that's why you wanted to clean up their house for free. So you could look for evidence to convince the cops?
Yes. No, that'd be a lie. Robbie, I never wanted to believe you did it. But you'll find as you get older, don't you hate that? You'll find that you hope people you love don't make a mistake. But you never know for certain. Not because you don't trust them, but because any of us in the wrong mood at the wrong time might do something we wished we hadn't. Just ask your father.
It's true, Robert. Your mother's been known to do some damn foolish things from time to time.
Mom, you remember a couple of summers ago you thought somebody was siphoning your gas? Because you'd fill up the tank and the next day it'd be half gone?
Mm-hmm.
I got an extra key made and I was sneaking the car out to tool around at 1 o'clock in the morning.
I know.
You knew?
Why do you think I started putting in only a few dollars instead of filling it up?
Here's your sandwich.
A few minutes.
Yeah, come on in, Pumpkin. They're both fast talkers.
Mrs. Marsden,
I know who you are.
May I come in?
I guess you better. Hello, Robert.
Mrs. Swinton.
Would it be possible, Mrs. Marsden, for me to have a word with you alone?
Come on, Melissa. You and me and Robbie will go shopping.
Shopping?
Sure, in the big grocery store out back. We'll buy us some peas for supper and maybe a few new potatoes.
And bananas?
Oh, I don't know about that.
My husband and I have agreed that if you give me back that photograph, we will drop the charges.
Not a chance.
Mrs. Marsden, Bonnie, if I may, I know you're angry at me because of Robbie last year. But believe me, I didn't put a gun to his head. He initiated, and I accepted. And we both had a beautiful summer.
He's sure having some beautiful summer this year. And the boy in that picture looks like he couldn't initiate tying his shoes.
Since when did teenage boys have to be coerced into drinking and taking drugs? I know it seems horrible on the surface. My husband, the evil seducer of innocent 15-year-olds. When I was 15, I seduced a director 3 times my age, and he made my career. I know that's difficult to understand, but...
Not so difficult.
Thank you. So perhaps then you can understand that these boys take advantage of my husband more than he takes advantage of them.
If they're all having such a good time, why did they trash your house?
They probably don't know themselves. You know what it's like at that age? All a riot of conflicting emotions and confusion.
Yeah, that's exactly why we're not supposed to play games with them.
I wasn't playing a game with Robbie, believe me. But my husband would be condemned because some long-dead politician drew an arbitrary line in the sand. Until you pass this birthday, you must not have sex with anyone older. There was a time not long ago when an arbitrary line would have condemned Robbie for alienating the affections of a married woman.
That's ridiculous.
Of course it is. You and I know that. But the law and the police make no allowances for reality. Mrs. Marsden, the Salt Shore Theatre Festival and the Swintons have come to mean the same thing to the public. To our friends back in Toronto, it may seem like only a little local festival. But it brings a few hours' entertainment to thousands of tourists and brings work to people, including Robbie. I don't believe you're the kind of person who would jeopardize all that because you found a way to get back at me for loving your son.
It's not up to me to say whether your husband's evil or not, but he isn't a patch on you. Your husband thought it might have been Robbie that trashed your house, but you never thought so for a second, did you? If your neighbor hadn't gone and called in a fire alarm, you and your husband would have ate the damage and not said a word. But once the police were in on it, you had to stop the investigation before they stumbled across a scandal that might damage your precious career. So you threw them Robbie. Case closed. But I'll give you a choice. Since those laws and police are all so foolish, I can either give the picture to the police or give it to the McGuigans.
And they give it to the police?
I doubt it. The McGuigans never had much truck with the police. You should tell your husband to plead guilty and not go for bail. He'll be safer inside. And the same goes for you.
Me? This doesn't have anything to do with me.
You knew about it, didn't you? You just told me you did. Who this doesn't have anything to do with is Robbie.
Hell of a day.
I understand things you can't possibly, Mrs. Marsden. When I was 15 years old... I was 14, and it was the guy I was babysitting for. And I sure didn't try to get a career out of it.
Yeah, I remember you telling me. How come you never told me about Robbie snitching the car?
Oh, I knew he couldn't get into too much trouble. He always took the dog along.
You crying or something?
Not really. It's just, things change.
Not all things.
Come here, you.
You have been listening to Suddenly This Summer by Elf Silver, Episode 2 of Clean Sweep. Bonnie and Ben Marsden were played by Deborah Allen and Richard Donat. The others in the cast were Ryan Rogerson as Robbie, Michael Pellerin as Corporal Kowalczak, Jeremy Ackerman as Eric, Jocelyn Cunningham as Kate, John Darts as Gordon, and with Ashley Swain as Melissa. The music was composed by Scott McMillan and David McIsaac, and was performed by Gordon Stobie, Jamie Gatti, and Andre Lacroix, along with the two composers. The recording engineer was Pat Martin. Sound effects, Dermot Kenny. The associate producer was Peggy Hemsworth. Casting was by John Dunsworth and Alex Duncan. Our coordinating producer is Barry Morgan. Clean Sweep was produced and directed in Halifax by Bill Howell, the executive producer of The Mystery Project.